Pride, passion, and bragging rights. What do these three words resonate?
Debbie.
Yeah, it's Derby Day in London and it's Arsenal versus Chelsea. And quite ironically, these two didn't consider themselves as rivals until the 2000s, where they were battling it out for the Premier League. And there's been quite a number of talking points since these guys kicked it in. There was that Ashley Cole transfer. You remember the 2007 League Cup final?
Exactly.
The Beauty and the Beast final. 7 yellow cards, 3 red cards in that particular one. And I can't forget this one. Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho tussle on the touchline.
The banters and, more or less the bragging rights between Arsene Wenger and Jose Mourinho was one to actually look out for whenever Chelsea.
The terrible words that Jose Mourinho had to speak to
Arsene Wenger.
Some of them unprintable.
Yeah. And on Sunday, when these two go toe to toe, it's clear we will not have punches, but we would have tactical showdowns in there. Let me start with you, Lucky. Where do you think, or how do you think Mikel will approach this particular one?
I think that first of all, we need to applaud, Arteta for what he's done at Arsenal. Brilliant job. And if you look at his trajectory since taking over the club, I mean, he's been at the club for 3 years now, and he's worked magic. I think we need to commend him for it. And what I like about him is, yes, you could see traces of whatever he learned from Pep Guardiola, but he's added a little twist to it. And I think one thing that has, is synonymous with this particular Arsenal team than the Arsenal team of 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago was that psychological vulnerability that Kofi you always mention. You realize, I think last season, if they had that toughness, they would have made the top 4. But at some point, they were vulnerable psychologically. But this particular team, I see that they are very strong psychologically. And we've spoken about how great he set his team up. And he has a hold on his team. He has a grip on his team. It's easy to predict Arsenal first 11, and that's one thing that we need to commend him for. He doesn't chop and change because he knows that this team will do the work for him. I expect him to do what he's done over the last, games. Go for his usual 4-2-3-1 on paper, or whenever Arsenal have the ball, the shape totally changes. It becomes a 2-3, literally 5 formation, where we know that the fullbacks join Partey in the middle. They become inverted fullbacks. Granit Xhaka moves up front to join the likes of Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel Jesus. The ability to switch up positions is what is interesting with this Arsenal team. And you see, before Kofi probably adds up a little bit, one thing I've realized with this Arsenal team is that they are not like the Liverpool team and the Pep Guardiola team that press in a rigid and aggressive manner. They pick their moment to press. They love to press from the front. Then they relax, then they press from the middle. It's all the handiwork of Mikel Arteta. And I think we are going to see him deploy a similar, or if not a similar, the same tactic he's done since this season started. I'm not saying that he's going to change.
But before
anytime
Kofi comes in, you spoke about Arteta and how he's consistently kept to his tactical starting 11s. Potter has just been in charge of Chelsea for 6 Premier League games.
Interesting.
He's made 31 changes to his starting 11. Kofi, is this indecisiveness or flexibility?
Well, I think that you need to contextualize the conversation. If a manager walks into a team, having not held pre-season with a team, having not prior knowledge about some of the players at his disposal, obviously you would use some of the games as a pre-season sort of. You would use some of the games to test and probably look to find out which his best possible team is. So I think that, yes, with all of the changes that you have mentioned, I think that it is down to the fact that he's using real-time scenarios to analyze the players and to see who best fits into his scheme of things, or who best fits into his starting 11. So that's all. Not too surprised about how Chelsea have been able to change a lot of players, or Graham Potter has been able to change a lot of players and do all of the changes. I mean, 31.
That's outrageous.
31 personnel changes.
Yeah, it's too much in 9 games.
In just 6 Premier League games.
9 games.
31. That's like
crazy.
Averaging 5 changes per game. And that's too much for...
Well, you can't blame the manager, because the manager needs to analyze everybody in the club, everybody who is qualified to play for the club in the Premier League, and then make a decision on them. So you see, the job that Potter walked into is not an easy job. It's a very difficult job, and we would have to appreciate how he's grown in leaps and bounds. And I must be quick to add that since Potter took over at Chelsea, their XG and XA has all fallen down. You understand? They are among some of the worst teams in the APL in terms of expected goals or chances created, and they are among some of the worst Premier League teams in terms of goals expected to be scored against them. So it shows you there's a bit of issues with Chelsea, but it's a transition period, and for me, it's only organic that some of these things do happen.
Now, I checked something before coming on set. If you check the last 6 derbies between these two, the away side has gone on to do better as opposed to the home side. Now, in the last 6, the away side has won 4 times, drawn once, and the only home side to have won in this particular exchange has got to be Arsenal when they beat Chelsea 3-1 at the Emirates. Arsenal in their last 3 visits at the Bridge are undefeated. Is playing away from home a leverage for which you can easily round your way in derby days, or there's pressure on the home side on derby days?
I think that is more about, there's pressure on the home side. And, when it comes to derbies, both teams want to have that bragging rights. And like Kofi went there. And if you look at Potter and his approach to this Chelsea team, for me, I do not blame him with the struggles he's having to, especially with the personnel. There's not a single player in this Chelsea team that was signed by him. Literally, this is Thomas Tuchel's team. He signed every single player. Kukurea, Aubameyang, every single player in this team was signed by Thomas Tuchel. So, like Kofi said, he's struggling to get to know the personnel. And we know Potter, how he loves to tinker with his team. He loves to tweak and all of that. I hope that he does not repeat what he did. Excuse me. He does not repeat what he did against, Brighton, because it was bound to fail. You do not apply the same, what is it called?
Strategy from Europe.
Approach in the Champions League, in the league. Yes, they won against Salzburg. They beat AC Milan at the same tactic, the 3-5-2 formation where Pulisic and Raheem Sterling literally played as wing backs. But you could see the frailties, especially a team that can press you high, because one thing that I spoke about as I do so, create overloads when your fullbacks are literally on the attacking, run. If he dares try that again, Arsenal will roast them, and it will fit perfectly well into this what is it called, record he put out there. Arsenal might just go to Stamford Bridge and beat them. I'm struggling to see how he's able to, deploy his team, because let's be fair, there's not too much quality in this Chelsea team. That's the truth.
Maybe there's not too much quality because of how they've been set up, but individually, I think that there's still a lot of quality in the Chelsea team.
Are you sure?
Maybe collectively, because of how they've been deployed, there's not too much quality in there. But I look at some of the players, I still think that Chelsea needs to do a lot of augmenting, especially in the January transfer and in the summer. They need to really buffer their squads. If they want to compete with the very best, not just in England, but in the world, they need to do a lot of quality. We've spoken in previous episodes about some of the areas we think they need to address. And for me, they are lightweight in attack, they are lightweight in creativity. They do not look themselves. See, in the past, Chelsea teams have been built from the midfield.
Yeah.
In the past, you've never gone into any battle with a Chelsea team and dominated the midfield. But we've seen a growing trend in games against Manchester United. Against Brighton, you don't expect this opponent to go there and bully the Chelsea midfield. But that's the case right now.
Yeah.
And if you look at Arsenal, one of their brightest moments in this material time has to be the midfield. Partey is
doing a real man's job in there.
Partey is not just doing his job, he's adding a lot of goals. Xhaka is not just doing his job, he's adding a lot of goals. And then they, like Lucky said, if you watch Arsenal, they create an overload where they have 2 quality fullbacks, you understand? So they join the midfield, and if your midfield is lightweight, they concentrate on that area.
Easily outrun you.
And they will break you down in transition.
Yeah.
And then so I think that this is one area that Potter needs to really look at. I mean, because you look at the various combinations he has at his disposal, none of them looks too good to me on paper. And for me, it is one area Chelsea should be on the lookout for. If they are not able to handle that midfield, it's going to be a story
Dave,
there.
who wins this?
I'll go by the trend. I told you, the last 6, the away side have always gone. Arsenal is the away side on Saturday.
Ironically, this is the first time I'm hearing Arsenal traveling away in a big game like this, and people are expecting that Arsenal will win.
Recent trends tell the story.
So
I'm going with
Arsenal win by
Arsenal win. Arsenal would win. Arsenal would win and they would score goals. And speaking of goals, the last 6 goals Arsenal have scored against Chelsea have all been scored by Englishmen.
So we are hoping that probably Saka.
Saka scored the first of the last 6.
There's Ben White in there.
The last Saka scored the first of the last 6.
Yeah.
And the last goal of the 6 was scored by Eddie Nketiah.
Okay. And they are both in the team.
They are both in the team.
So you are tipping Arsenal to win.
Arsenal win.
Well, I think Chelsea will win. Irrespective of all their troubles, I think that Chelsea is the one team I can vouch for to show up in the biggest of games. Yes, they've had their demons, they are battling demons, but I think that against Arsenal, Chelsea should go out there and win.
I think that Arsenal win or draw. But we cannot live without looking at Liverpool. They are coming up against Spurs, another big game. And this is the first time Liverpool have lost 2 games on the bounce in as many games. And the last one, people didn't expect it coming against Leeds United. Against Spurs, I've had my own issues with Spurs. Maybe I will leave Liverpool for you guys to talk about. I'm a bit disappointed in Antonio Conte and his Spurs side because I feel there's too much quality in this Spurs side for Conte to set them up the way he's been setting them. Spurs have become too predictable, very defensive-minded. I'm yet to see Spurs go into any big game and they take the team on. Against Chelsea, they were overly defensive. Against Manchester United, overly defensive. Against Arsenal, overly defensive. Yet they have enough quality to compete with any of the teams in the English Premier League. You have Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. You have Richarlison, who is injured though. Whatever. Kulusevski is injured, but still, there's still enough quality in this team. He usually loves to go for that 5-3-2, which is so rigid and defensive minded, expecting that they'll sit back, soak the pressure, and use the pace of Song to hit the opponent on the counter. If they do this against Liverpool, even though Liverpool is struggling, I still think that Liverpool will beat Spurs. I'm a bit disappointed with Conte and how he's been. I feel that he should unleash the talent in this team, be a bit more attacking minded, and take Liverpool on. I don't know what you think though.
Well, if Spurs play to their truest ability, like you mentioned, I think that there are issues with Heung-min Son, head injuries and all of those other things, but Spurs have enough quality to worry any other team in the APL. Lucky talks about the fact that these are 2 teams that we're expecting to be battling it out with City at the beginning of the season. But I think that this far, we've had an anti-climax from both of the teams. Yes, and even though statistically,
Spurs is still in the title. They are 10.
But on performance basis, Spurs are nowhere close to challenging for the league title. Because Lucky mentioned some of the games that they have played against the biggest of teams. Against Arsenal, they chickened out. Against Manchester United, they didn't show up. You understand? Against Chelsea, they were all over the place. So I think that this will be an interesting game because this is a game for 2 sides who much was expected of and are really struggling. But on the balance of plays, I think that if there is one team that I would vouch for in this material time or at this material time, it would have to be Liverpool. One, because of the mentality they come into this game with. Liverpool are constantly trying to prove their worth, you understand? We also saw the game against Napoli. They didn't play too well, but competed very well. In Salah, in some of Firmino, they have experienced campaigners who can go out there and play all of the biggest games and punish opponents. But like Lucky mentions, when it comes to Conte and Spurs, you never know which Spurs side will turn up in the biggest of games. And for me, that's what makes it all too disappointing. I still think that if Spurs had their way, they should be going out and hunting for Mauricio Pochettino, because with the sort of talent at their disposal, they shouldn't be going into games playing the kind of football we've seen them play lately. Because I mean, Spurs, pound for pound, about half the best squad in the APL.
But I think in this particular game, an area Liverpool will have to be wary is Spurs' habit of scoring late goals.
Yeah.
If you look at the games they've played in recent times, they did it against Bournemouth, they did it against Marseille, yesterday they did it. And if you look through, they did it against Chelsea as well. So, Sporting, Bournemouth, Marseille, they've made a habit of scoring late on. Liverpool were undone late on in that game against Leeds.
Well, they can only relish a late goal if they are in the game at those latter moments. You understand? But if Spurs play the way they have played, I don't think that the late goals will matter, because by which time, if Liverpool played to their truest ability, they would have carried the game and over the line. You understand?
Exactly.
So I think that it should be a fascinating tactical battle.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think Conte is massively overrated, and for me, he's been the biggest disappointment. Even though we are still at the early parts of the season, I think that he's been an understatement. He's been a big disappointment. I was expecting the Spurs team to challenge for league.
Maybe you've got to hold your horses. After the World Cup, you turn around and show something
Exactly,
beautiful.
maybe something.
Maybe he just wants to be conservative, but
I think he will end up in a draw.
he'll draw.
It will end up in a draw.
You look around, different locations today.
Yeah, today we are shooting from the Takrady Mall. Yes, we're shooting from the Takrady Mall, and Sweet Roses restaurant located at the Takrady Mall. Listen, they have amazing drinks. What did we have? Lemonade and honey.
Yes.
It was
great.
too great. So you can just walk by the Takrady Mall and check out Sweet Roses. It's an interesting place to be. And more importantly, if you have not subscribed to Sports 101, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like our videos, make sure you comment in the comment section. And we are doing this show with you. What do you think? What will be the scoreline between Chelsea and Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham Hotspurs?